Hello, welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Fara Sax. Main Street Players, a theater company based in Miami Lakes, Florida, recently celebrated, like last year, its 50th anniversary and has staged over 150 productions. Their latest show, The Revolutionists, opens on July 18th. Danny Neves, who is the director of the production and vice president of the theater, along with its cast members, Diana Morales and Cheryl Ross, join us here. And welcome, ladies and gents.
Thank you, Fara.
We're raising the curtain for theater.
Yes, we are.
Wow.
Love it.
Well, the little theater that could.
Keeps on going.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Graham Company.
Thank you always to the Graham companies, to the town of Miami Lakes, to Miami-Dade County Cultural Affairs, all our supporters. Yeah, everybody.
It's an amazing experience because it was a vacant bookstore.
That was back in 2003. Yes, we took
is
over that
right.
bookstore back in
Yeah.
03. And since 2021, we've been where Victoria's Secret used to be, in a new theater space. So.
Do you have little models running around out still?
Well, here we are. We are
Right. Yeah.
Here they are.
They are actresses. You can tell. You can tell. Okay, The Revolutionists. You guys open on July 18th. How exciting! It's the vibe of a theater. And for a community that on like really shoestring budget,
Yep.
making theater happen time in, time out again. What can the audience expect from this funny, bold, hilarious, feminist comedy? And what makes it so powerful, a powerful choice for the players to have chosen this for this year's lineup?
Well, I mean, number one, it's a hilarious play. I mean, it's a play that even when you read it, it flies off the page. The humor is there in the language. It doesn't need actresses to be hilarious. Now, you add 4 tremendously talented actresses and you have a home run. So, yeah.
So tell me what it's like to step into the role, because they're all period pieces.
Yes.
These are women that have lived and then died for what they believed in through their voice. So who wants to start? Diana?
Yeah.
Cheryl, you want to jump in?
I think one of the most.
Who do you play?
I play Charlotte Corday.
Tell a little bit about her.
So maybe
vibrant.
whoever knows, like she's most well known because she murdered Jean-Paul Marat, who's a very activist and fundamentalist from the French Revolution.
And what is her famous line that she says that we were practicing?
Well, one of my favorite lines is because sometimes one man every once in a while really needs to just die. So the good thing about this play is that we have 4 women who are very revolutionary in this whole process. And the way how we speak with each other, it's also in a very contemporary way. So it's very easy for the audience to connect with this story. And it's also telling the story of the French Revolution from a feminist point of view and things that they were fighting for that needed to be changed and the weight of the actions that they did. So one thing that I really love how Lauren Gunberg did with this script is that she doesn't only give the space for Charlotte Corday to do what she actually did in history, it gives her a space to be a person and to express all of these ideas that she had and the reason why behind the action she took, and also the weight of that decision, how important was, but also how important the message she wanted to convey. And I think that's something that even we can relate nowadays, because even though it's about the French Revolution, we are still fighting for our women's rights. We're still fighting to have a space where the rooms and the decisions are being made. And that's what this group of women were fighting for. So it's very empowering, and it's very about sisterhood and how together we're stronger than just, even though if we have different ideals, if we stick together, we can make a change together.
And what I love about theater is it always has a message. And it's a bigger message than what you're seeing, but it is sometimes subtle, and sometimes it hits you over the head, or sometimes it shoots you with a gun or a knife.
or a guillotine.
Yeah, right.
Wink, wink.
And Cheryl, what was that like for you? Tell me about who you play and how did you start the research for the character?
Well, my character is Marianne Angel, and she's probably the only character that isn't directly from history. She's like a combination of women who fought for the freedom of the island of Saint-Domingue, which we now know as Haiti. So their revolution that the Caribbean slaves were fighting at the same time in the 18th century, she represents those people who went to France and who really fought for the dismantling of the colonization by the French Empire. So her character, I kind of see as, and that was the first thing I did. As I was reading through the entire play, I looked up all the characters. And for her perspective, while she is not actually from France, she is connected to France because of the colonization. So she connects with all of these other women who are fighting not only for their freedom, the freedom of their country, but then she's also fighting for the freedom of her people, of all Caribbeans that were, held under colonization by the French government. So for her, I would say one of the things that I really love of her lines is, she says, well, this is the reign of terror, not the reign of agree to disagree. So when, the characters have to face the real consequences of standing up for what is really right. And all of these women, all three of these women, do pay a very, very heavy price for standing up for what they believe in. And many of the people out there might know that painting of Jean-Paul Marat in the bathtub. That was Charlotte Corday's doing in real life. That really happened. So I think you get a nice sense of history from this play, but I think the other thing, what you touched on a little bit, was the language. So a lot of times you might think something that's old, the language might be Shakespearean or something like that. It's not. It's very much today. It very much connects with everyone. So everyone can come and understand each woman's perspective and how they came together to really fight for what was right for women, for Black people, for slaves, for human rights. So.
And it's an interesting choice, Danny, because in this day and age right now, we are dealing with a lot of uncertainty. We're dealing a lot with women's issues so the play really toes that line.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why we picked it, because it was a play that allowed us to do something fun, do something funny, do something silly that, like they said, the language is super contemporary, but the costumes are very period. The story is very period. Olympe de Gouges, like Charlotte Corday, Marie Antoinette, these are all people that lived in real life, and you're seeing them not as the sort of characters that you see and that you read about in your textbooks or that you see in more period appropriate, literature and drama, but you're seeing them as just people that are that have their own insecurities, their own vulnerabilities presented in a way that's relatable to the audience. And I've told the actresses, like, this play doesn't break the fourth wall, separating the audience from the actors, but it definitely pushes it, what I mean? And it wants the audience to feel like they are a part of the story, because in reality they are.
And what I find also wonderful is, speaking of being part of the story, is you have hired 4 local actresses, local talent right here to support the arts, their careers, as well as showcasing their talents. And what kind of decision was that to bring that to life and to have them in this input, in this it's really a collaboration.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, theater's definitely a team sport. I mean, we've always hired local actors. It's part of our mission, to foster a place for local talent to come showcase what they do. I mean, it's just part of what we do. It's part of what we always done. All our designers are local, our directors, I'm local. The entire team at MSP is local. We really don't work with outside artists, because that's not who we are. That's not what we're about. We are that theater that a lot of young artists get their first opportunity to work, and a lot of, more seasoned actors that, don't want to put the time in terms of rehearsal in the daytime at some of the bigger companies. They get to come and rehearse in the evenings and perform on the weekends, So showcasing local talent's always been part of the mission and always will be.
And I was very fortunate to be part of it.
Yeah.
And it really supporting local, and it was a wonderful experience for me. That the theater puts out great content, such talent, and really kudos to the theater for doing the players.
Kudos to them too. They're the talent.
Yeah, and I think it's also so important. Like I love when I go to a theater and I see people like myself, right? Like we sometimes like we might come from the same place. Like I'm from Little Havana, and then like you see people who are from the community, and because you're from the community, you can tell that story, targeting it to your community. It's about representation and all of that. So.
Why is that important? Why do you think that is important?
I think it's very important because one, I always say this, that whoever comes to the theater and sees myself doing this role that they thought they like never came to their minds that
they could do it,
that they could see someone like me doing that specific role, that sparks something in them, and that gives them the opportunity, and that gives them this idea of, okay, so it's doable, it's achievable. Because, for example, when I was growing up, I never saw anyone in the television that sounded like me, or like even like had my hair, like this frizzy hair. I was like, I gotta be, sound a specific way, had the hair a specific way. And then there was a moment where I saw a play and I saw someone who was also Hispanic, and I was like, so it is doable, right? So I want to be that person and that voice for that specific person who needs it. And I think that's
I think that's also true. And I've lived in Miami Lakes now for 20 years and raised my kids there. They went to
So you
Miami
really
Lakes.
are home?
Absolutely. I am actually homegrown. Miami Lakes, still live there. My kids grew up there. And I think the other thing that I really loved about just having the opportunity to even audition for Miami Lakes is, a lot of times I think people kind of, you let your things kind of set aside while you're being a mom. And then I thought, I really want to get back into theater. And what a great place to be able to do that, in my hometown, and people that I see and that I know. And I get that a lot too. They're like, what? You're doing what? You can do that? And it's like, and that's right around the corner. So it's a wonderful opportunity not only to fulfill my personal goals, as a theater person and as a theater teacher and as a mom, to be able to do those things that really make me happy and foster my desires to be on stage and to do these fun, wonderful things that I've done my whole life. So, and also see people that I know, and meet new people that are as close as, a lot of you guys don't live that far from me. I'm like, really? You live there? We have a lot of things in common that you never knew. So it's great.
And it's also interesting how you might affect somebody by showing who you are and what you do. And this young kid might just be inspired by your story. And I know that this summer you have camp for kids.
Yes, we do. We have our children's camp, and it's a little different this year because this is the first year that we're actually doing a published play. We're doing SpongeBob the musical for the kids.
No way. Can I audition?
We did the kids version because
That means no.
That means we move on.
All the other years of summer camp, the kids have written the play, that they performed, and this year we are doing something like that. But the big, thing that we wanted to sell this year to the kids and the campers and the parents was that we were going to have them do a produced play, and that they're actually having two performances. So they have one tomorrow and then Saturday. So the kids are getting kind of that experience of actually being in a production where they don't just have the one show for mom and dad, but they have that show, and then tomorrow or Saturday, I should say, they have a matinee. So we're really excited about that. So
and how old are the children that are participating in the program?
7 to 14.
And this is just this weekend. That's it.
Yeah, well, it's mostly for the parents, to be honest with you.
It always is.
Look, the theater only seats about 45. So if mom and dad come see it twice, we got about 20 or so kids in camp. There's your house, basically.
Right,
So
absolutely. Moving on a little bit, you also produced the first Hispanic Arts Festival.
Yes,
Tell me a little bit. That was a huge milestone.
Yeah,
tell our audience
it was
about
the
that.
first. So we had done like little one-day festivals for the last probably like 3 years, but they were just one-offs. One day centered around a theme. This month we just did Pride. We had done Hispanic Heritage. We had done a whole bunch of things, and so we'd been kind of ruminating the idea. Because honestly, picking a play in Spanish is difficult. Google does not have that many good options in Spanish to find plays.
Well, if you don't speak Spanish, then it's even worse because you can't understand what they're saying.
So this
Right.
last year, we kind of had the idea of, hey, why don't we just take that one day festival and expand it to 2 weekends or 3? It was 3 weekends. And the idea was that every day that you came or every weekend you came, you would see something different. So the first weekend we had a series of plays that were all the same. The second weekend we had a flamenco show. We had other events. And the last weekend we had 2 new plays that were just ran basically Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday we had like an open house. But it was just, like I said, an idea to try to showcase as much talent as we could in the community and try to give people something different every time they came to the theater. Not just to bring them back for the same show, let's say, but again, to just give as many voices an opportunity. And it was a learning curve. It was a lot of work. We definitely, it's something that we want to do again next year, now that we've had that experience and that we've gotten those lessons. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And we had a lot of really great feedback. So
That's wonderful. And you also are increasing Miami's rich diversity by your Bohemian Pride. And why don't you talk a little bit about that and what that was like?
this was our, I want to say like 4th year in a row doing an event for Pride. And it's basically the same sort of idea, just an open call to artists to come in, whether it's songs, whether it's poetry, whether you have a short play, whatever you got, just come in. You know, we have a couple of quick rehearsals just for tech, and then we perform. And we did that last Saturday.
Wow. Wow, you're not too busy. And you all have other jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the theater, you know, one of the things that we've been trying to push more, especially since we moved, is to have the theater open and doing something at least every weekend. You know, that's sometimes not feasible just for the simple fact that we have to tech and prepare for the show that's coming. But I mean, last year in 2024, out of 52 weekends, we did something like 43 of them.
Now, is this just from Main Street Players, or is this with a collaboration with
we've been
other?
collaborating with other companies. For a time we were collaborating with True Mirage Theater. You know, they have their own space now with Artistic Vibes. We're still collaborating with LakeHouseRanch.png, which has their season coming up, starting with us, you know, this year and going into next year. And then we rent the theater. It's just about anybody who wants to come in. I mean, I don't mean to be shameless, but we've done little kids' birthday parties. We've shown movies for a gentleman who was trying to sell Roth IRAs instead of 401ks. Like anybody who wants to rent the space.
So, Danny, if someone wanted to get in touch with you about renting the space, because it could only bring goodness and connection and good vibe and good juju, not only for theater, but for bringing people together as a community centrally located location. So maybe you can talk about that destination where they might reach you.
If you go on our website, you'll see on the tabs, there's definitely one for rentals, and you click on that tab and then you fill in what you want to do, and it sends an email directly to me to get in contact.
And that's mainstreetplayers.com.
Yeah, it's a .com.
Okay, making sure.
And then, they can just go on the rentals tab.
Great. And let's talk about significant art funding cuts and how that has affected you, what it means to you, why some of it might reflect in the work that you've chosen.
Yep.
And what our audience can do to help and get involved and just knowing day to day what that really means to the heart and soul of theater.
Yeah. So obviously with the cuts that happened last year was tough. It was actually our first year applying for a state level grant. So it was especially frustrating because we had really only applied to community level grants, county grants through the Miami Foundation, you know, very local grants. But, you know, the county was always, hey, you should apply for more grants. So last year was the first year that we went for a state level grant. And then to have the state nix the budget was frustrating. Luckily, we were able to secure grants from the Knight Foundation. You know, they stepped in, they reached out to us and said, hey, you know, we know you guys are one of the companies locally that lost grant funding. You know, fill out this grant form and we'll help you out. And they got us through it. I applied again for a state level grant because, you know, you can't bite the hand that feeds you, you know, so you just have to keep applying. You have to keep applying. You know, we've been applying for more grants than ever. And if people want to donate, again, they can go to our website, mainstreetplayers.com. There's a donate tab with all the information to donate. But more than anything, come out to see the shows because donations are nice. Yes, obviously, you'll get a nice tax write-off, but we want people to see the plays. You know, ticket sales don't make up for the majority of our income, but that's the most satisfying revenue stream that we have. You know what I mean? Because people saw the show.
Yeah, and even like coming to see this show in particular, like the Revolutionists, like we even touch themes like that. It's about like how important it is theater. There's this idea of theater being something extra, a luxury. No, theater is essential. It's how we process our grief, how we process our story, and also how we bring communities together. And
How did you get started, both of you, with this love for theater? Because I know when I was a little girl in that kindergarten play, and I played the giant's daughter, I think it was, and I walked across that stage. It was in that moment, as that little girl, I said, I have to do something with this. It was that moment,
Right, yes.
seas parted, where I just knew that it was in my blood, the arts.
Yeah.
For each of you,
Yeah.
what was that significant moment?
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I would say, my mother was always a lover of the arts too, and still is today. Took me to the ballet, took me to see theater, and it was the same thing. It was like, wow, you can do this? Those are people up there. So I could be one of those people. And really from that time, got involved with, singing and dancing. And my brother and I both, had done community theater and did theater through high school, did theater in college. So we've kind of done it our whole lives. And now I also teach it. So I teach it and I like to do it. So it's really my life. It's in my blood.
Where
It's
do
what
you
I
teach? Are you allowed to say?
I should be. Sagemount Preparatory School.
Do you want to say
in
hi to
Weston.
them? You want to say
Hi,
hi?
Sagemount. So, yes, and some of the teachers have come to see some of the other shows that I've been in more recently. So that's been kind of fun. But no, I agree with you. It's like it's in your blood. It's something that you really want to do. And I've really never done anything else but being involved in theater and performing arts.
And what about
Me
you,
was
Diana?
something different.
Okay.
I'm originally from Venezuela, and I was studying journalism. I was on my 4th year of college. So it was later on in life. And for a class, I had to do a play, like a Greek tragedy. And that was the first time I've ever done anything. And when I did that, I was like, so this is what it's like to really love what you do. Yes, I did not finish journalism, and then I grabbed my things and came here because in Venezuela, you cannot study theater as a profession. So that's why I came here, study it, and then now I do it as a day, something daily. So yes, it was later in life, but it was the same feeling.
And Danny, for you, were you ever the actor?
Yeah, I was an actor once.
talking
Yes,
about
I was an actor once. Yes.
Well, once? Only once?
Once upon a time. Once upon a time. Yeah, I don't act as much anymore because I don't like learning lines. And it's a lot more, at least for me, gratifying to make theater happen from behind the scenes than to be up on the stage.
So when did you get that bug or that feeling? Because you've been with Main Street Players for a long time.
So my first play at MSP was in 2011. I had just graduated from college. I mean, I was between studying English and history when I was at FIU back in the day, and I visited both departments, and they smelled of old books and mold. And then I went to the theater department because I had
really
taken
smelled of old books.
I mean, let me tell you. Well, the theater department at that time, I had taken an intro to acting class, and Michael Yanni, who was my teacher at the time, was like, "Hey, you should consider this. You consider this." I thought he was crazy. I mean, he still kind of is, but I love him. And so, anyway, when I got to the theater department, it was new. Like there was young people. There was like I was like, okay, yeah, this is where I need to be. Because I also didn't really want to work too hard in college in terms of writing papers and studying.
So why not?
So why not
go into
why
theater?
not go into theater? Yeah. So, and now here I am all these years later.
And any departing words that you want to share with our audience? Final thoughts?
Come see the show. It opens on July 18th. It runs until August 3rd, I believe. The first Sunday in August. I think it's the 3rd or the
Tickets
2nd.
are so
One of the
cheap.
two.
25
bucks.
So
$25
affordable for
students
everyone.
and seniors, $30
Yeah.
for adults. You're not going to get a cheaper theater ticket in South Florida. Come see it. These ladies are hilarious.
Yeah.
Their castmates are hilarious. The costumes are awesome. It's shenanigans, it's hijinks, and it's a message. It's an important message that people really need to hear, because it's not just about women. It's about poor people too.
Yeah.
It's about everyone.
It's about everybody.
Everyone
that's
can
getting
get a
trampled
message
by
from
the
it.
man.
Yeah. And the way
me.
how it's written is so intelligent.
Yes,
like
it is.
you'll
Very
be
smart.
laughing and then you're like, ha! Oh, wait.
Yeah.
And it'll make
Okay.
you think, witty
Yeah.
in a witty way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
they all have their amazing moments. Every character has a moment where they don't just make you laugh, but they make you think, they make you cry. They all have their moments of vulnerability, of comedy, of action, of camaraderie. I mean, I think that's really one of the underlying, the overarching themes of the play is sisterhood, camaraderie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and then come to the theater. It's not like watching a movie. It's not like watching television. You are a part of that experience.
Yeah.
So when you come there that night, you are a part of what we're doing, and you are helping us tell that story. You are part of that story too.
And you're
So,
living something
you
that
are
is not going to
right. You are living something that
Yeah.
you will never relive again. So it's
Yeah.
a very special moment in your life, and I would encourage everyone to take advantage of that.
Diana, you have something to say too?
No, I love it. I've been dropping it there. I'm like, yeah.
So also in a great location, Miami Lakes is, you can go out, have a bite before,
Absolutely.
bite after, a drink before, drink after, or both.
Yeah.
Yes, and
there's
it's easy
ice
to
cream
get
places.
through from anywhere. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a great
Yeah, yeah,
location for everyone. Yeah.
Plenty of parking and
And
Oh,
the
yes.
party's free.
It's
Yeah.
free.
Free.
Yeah.
It's
Free
the
parking.
best. It's the best.
Yes.
It is.
for more
Really.
information, please check out miamistreetplayers.com
Main
forward.
Street Players. Main
What did I
Street,
say?
Miami Street.
That's all right.
Take two. mainstreetplayers.com/tickets. And I want to thank you, the three of you, so much for coming. And
Thank
may
you
you
for
have
having
sellout performances
Yes.
and great opening night and closing night.
Thank
Break
you.
legs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you for being my guest. And I want to thank
Absolutely.
you for joining me for Main Street Players.
Yeah.
I'm Fara Sax. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other and have a great day.